I'm Jermaine Stone, Bronx, New York, born and raised, wine expert, podcaster, food lover, and ambassador for the culture. I'm traveling city to city looking for unexpected unions between amazing dishes and great wines.
This guy deserves a Michelin star.
I'll be going from temples of cuisine to street carts to backyards, matching whatever tastes good with whatever sounds great. Bringing my favorite wines with me everywhere. I toast to that. I'm in Savannah, Georgia, an elegant place steeped in history. My guide, Jesse Blanco, locally known as the food mayor of Savannah. He's taken me to the Pirates House, originally built in 1734. It eventually became a boarding house for, well, pirates. Chef Sean is cooking up a local staple with an interesting history.
Today we're preparing shrimp and grits. It's an awesome dish with a lot of history to it.
The consensus is shrimp and grits originated from a Native American grain, mixed with a West African seafood dish, served for breakfast.
We use a local coarse ground grit. We use local ingredients like our sausage and shrimp just to kind of really bring together all the fresh flavors. It highlights ground mace, which is an unusual spice. It's back 18th century. It's the actual exterior coating to a nutmeg. So it really brings in a nice spice of like island flavor to it.
You know, I'm really excited that we've been given access to come down here.
Yo, I've been in some wine cellars.
Yeah.
But not no pirate cellars.
Yeah, this is a pirate cellar, and the legend has it here that there were tunnels, one, maybe more than one, that connected this to the Savannah River, which is only about a block away. If you've been in Savannah long enough, you've heard plenty of ghost stories.
You know, I'm Jamaican, man. We call them duppies. Oh, there's plenty of duppies in here, let me tell you. Chef Sean is a believer.
We have watched glasses slide off of perfectly level shelves that have been there for years and years, bounce off a counter, bounce off a concrete floor, into a sink completely unbroken. People have gotten pictures where there's shadows of people on stairs that weren't there. So it really comes down to what you believe, but you could definitely find an argument for ghosts in this building.
Food stories are marked by the infinite march of time. In the past, sometimes sends a message.
Who's doing that?
On you guys.
Yo. Wait, so were y'all really f***ing with the lights, or was that a... Yo.
Thank you, Chef.
Absolutely.
Okay, Savannah. All right. Yes, this is a whole different type of shrimp and grits, man. Like, it's a lot creamier, the texture.
Yeah, I like that mace influence that he was talking about.
Yeah,
It's
word.
definitely different.
When I come to Georgia, I always get shrimp and grits. It's a thing for me. I've never tasted anything like this.
You have to know where you come from to understand where you're going. And ultimately, you can't get into Savannah cuisine and Southern food without starting here.
Right.
As you make your way through town, you'll see that there are influences from this and this building and the history and the homage that they all play throughout the fabric of everything that we're about to eat this week. The modern chefs that are coming to town are coming here to learn how to do this the actual authentic way, and then they do their spins on it and the food scene grows.
Jesse's gonna take me to a private home for a low country boil party.
Cheers.
We'll meet an entrepreneur who created a new local favorite out of a historic Puerto Rican dish. Then, we're gonna meet a chef who learned to listen to the history of the land, reviving techniques and recipes from original Austrian settlers, catapulting historic food into the future of Savannah's culinary story. Thank you for stopping, man. I'm gonna hit you with some wine questions. Do you know why people toast when they drink?
Just to show that they're happy.
Maybe good times.
Wine is a sensory thing. You can appreciate the color, you can appreciate the smell. When you taste it, there's different textures. The one sense that it doesn't hit is the ears. You can't hear it, so toast. All right, there you go, you cheers. Very important though, when you toast, you gotta look in the eyes, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, 7 years of bad sex, all right? I've always loved soul food. My mom always brought that soul food in. We did the Sunday dinner thing. So that feeding of the soul is something that really, really sticks with me. So to be here, to be in almost the birthplace of soul food, what it feels like, is really, really cool for me. In the South, it's an honor to be invited into somebody's home for a low country boil.
Hey guys.
How are you?
Jesse invited me to join him at private chef Val Domingo's crib for a traditional get-together of family, friends, and neighbors.
All right, guys. Can't be in the South without this famous sweet tea of mine.
What do you sweeten it with?
Sugar.
Out of all the amazing reasons to come to Savannah, this is one of them.
We're making a classic dish popular in the South called Low Country Boil. It consists of shrimp, which is local, potatoes, corn, and andouille sausage. We're going to be updating that using Sapelo Island clams and Prince Edward Island mussels. See here, you got this basket here.
Looks good already, doesn't it?
Turn it into what
See?
it needs to be.
We're going to take this later on. Now we're just going to put it all over a table.
Just all over the
Just
table?
dump it all over there. And people just go to town on it.
Turns out, Chef Val has some interesting family history.
I'm a veteran of a U.S. Navy. My whole family is full of military veterans as well. I cooked on submarines for 4 years, which actually is by far the best food in the Navy because it's all made from scratch.
Chef Val worked successfully in the restaurant business for 30 years, but eventually, the pressure got to him.
I used to be like a typical chef, stressed out, working long hours and yelling and screaming at everybody. But for the last 3 years, I've been doing the whole private chef route, and I thoroughly love what I do. I love hosting dinner parties at my house. It's just a lot of fun. You know, people are just relaxed and we're all having a good time and get to talk about our days, just like a family. The Low Country Boil is special to me because Southerners pride themselves on community and being able to prepare something delicious that could feed a crowd and you could still entertain while you're cooking that. Originally, the gentleman that started it, he was a National Guardsman that cooked for hundreds of fellow soldiers. And so he had to figure out a way to feed them fast and easy.
This dish, meant to save time with cooking for large groups of people, has made it through generation after generation to become a Southern staple.
You know, Jermaine, anybody can make a low country boil, but it's that liquid there that makes his different from the guy down the street.
I do mine with like a beer broth, so it just accentuates what is already there.
Oof. Yeah. I'm ready to dump this thing on the table. For this special dish, I brought the SALDO Chenin Blanc.
Thank you, Chef.
Thank you, Chef.
Appreciate
you, sir. Cheers.
All right,
Thank
enjoy
you.
that boil.
Gotta
Yeah,
go for the shrimp.
I gotta get that shrimp.
That's kind of the main
shrimp
event.
is the star. Oh my God.
Isn't that, and they're not overcooked, they're not rubbery. He nailed it. He nailed it.
He did that. Wow.
Getting together with a group of people, eating some of this, you know, over some wine. This is what it's all about in the summer in Savannah.
Yo, these potatoes.
What do you like best?
Honestly, a part of just going through the process of trying all the different stuff, it's like I'm rediscovering something every single time. I'm seeing the boil drip off of this, right? So it's like it's seasoned up until the point that I'm eating it.
So a lot of times you get a low country boil and it's overdone or it's underdone. This is wonderful.
How you feel about this wine pairing?
Oh, it's perfect. Is this your go-to wine for seafood or does it work for other things as well?
Man, it's one of my go-to wines, period. To be honest with you.
Really?
Nah, for real. People order, like, Chenin is a thing right now.
I'm digging that.
Damn. This wine is giving high density of fruit aromas with dominant pineapples, Honeycrisp apple, some white peach, and spice.
I mean, I had a feeling this was gonna go well. I knew seafood is always gonna be highlighted by great citrus, but I never thought about, like, tropical fruit notes and corn before, but it goes.
There you go.
And then, like, you look at the versatility, right? The wine is complementary to every single piece of this dish in a whole different way. You could have any one of these things on its own and enjoy this wine along with it.
And cheers to you for bringing this to the table, literally, because this has gone, well, I might eat one of these orange peels.
Yo, word. Your orange peel. This tablecloth probably amazing right now. I can't do this all on my own, please. I need the community with me. Thank y'all. Get up in here. You empty, I got you.
Chef Val found his happy place by honoring his time in the service with a dish that originated in the military. And his happy place was a dope place to spend quality time with new Savannah friends.
What do you think the #1 wine that Americans drink?
That's muscadine grapes. What? Rosé.
I don't know.
I don't know.
You're 100% wrong. Chardonnay.
Okay, we'll go with that.
That's real talk. IW Street Somm. Like, one of the things that grabbed me was the older wines. I would work in the warehouse when I was starting out, and there would be these old boxes with nails all over them. You had to open it a certain way. The bottles are all dusty. And then you look at these things that are older than you. The magic is in the fact that there can be so much life and so much youth in something that is so old. Time is the only asset, the only real asset. And a lot of times with those older wines, you're buying time.
You can feel the heartbeat of old Savannah right here in Chippewa Square. It's where Jesse's taking me to experience another popular local dish. But it's not what I expected.
Welcome to Savannah. I'm Chef Chaz Ortiz, owner of Chazidos. Chazidos came from my grandmother, Little Chaz. Not so little anymore.
Were you born and raised Savannah?
No, definitely not. From Puerto Rico, raised in Philadelphia.
Okay, I'm getting a Bronx vibe. Like, man, yo, this is dope.
No, it's all love.
Like everything else here, Chef Chaz's history goes deep. It's about breaking free from some serious shackles.
I'm a third-generation chef. My grandfather had his little spot up in Puerto Rico. My dad graduated culinary school while he was incarcerated, and that's like where I first got my passion. You know, it was a chance to get to see something positive come out of something so negative and get a chance to see my father take something and actually make me proud, you know? And it drove me, it catapulted me. I started in a tent just with my backyard grill. Little by little, saved up my money. And then I found a Doritos truck, and I actually built out my truck myself. I was traveling all around the area, but Savannah wouldn't really let me operate. So I just decided to break the rules. You know, somebody gotta be a rebel. So I just decided to go for it. A lot of fines later, man, and here we are. Been voted, you know, #1 food truck in Savannah for 8 years. I've been able to grow from 1 truck to 3 trucks, be able to open to a brick and mortar. I broke a lot of the rules to get here, but it opened up the doors for a lot of others. I got those burritos ready for y'all, man.
The burrito.
A traditional dish of Puerto Rico, but wrapped up in a burrito. So I took the pigeon peas, arroz con gandules, fresh house-made queso, the roasted pork, chopped up plantains, and a tomato garlic aioli. Here in the South, when they wouldn't be so keen on trying like the traditional dish of Puerto Rico, but I used the burrito as a vessel to introduce it to people.
I used to be on the news, yeah.
That's why you got that poise.
I guess, if you want to call it that. But yeah, that's what brought me here in '99, and my wife and I fell in love with the whole neighborhood. Got a job as a sportscaster here in town, newly married, didn't have kids yet, moved here to downtown Savannah Historic District, and immediately we loved it. Savannah's food scene took off in 2014, and I had been blogging about it. So naturally, when anything new is coming along, I get the call, hey, we want you to come to our soft open and all that. Next thing you know, now 13 years later, I'm the food guy.
You might not even realize it. You probably had a lot to do with that growth.
Just call me up and I'll come eat your food and drink your wine.
It's not a bad job.
No,
it's not a bad job.
It's not.
For this dish, I brought the Unshackled Cabernet Sauvignon.
Chazidos.
Familia, I got y'all ready, y'all. What's good? Y'all ready to eat? So that's a Boricua burrito, guys.
Cheers, my friend.
Cheers, man.
Tastes like Puerto Rico.
Yo, this tastes like Fordham Road right here.
Yeah.
You legit. I can see it.
I told you, Pa. I'm gonna let y'all enjoy the food.
Very
Thank
good.
y'all, gentlemen.
Thank you, my friend.
Sure.
Welcome my
Send a
city.
bottle over to the truck, too.
Thank you, fam.
It was a stroke of brilliance to include the sweet and the savory with the plantains.
I think one of the most interesting things here is that you're not just adding a lot of complexity with a bunch of different flavors going well together, but there's also different textures happening in here. From the burrito to the plantains in here. But like, yo, the plantains have this natural sweetness
yeah.
that's going really well with the lively fruit that you're tasting in the wine.
This Cabernet Sauvignon is giving youthful, fresh blackberry, black currants, hints of olive tapenade, dark stone, subtle clove, dried herbs, and soft, structured tannins.
You can appreciate wine,
Of course.
on so many different levels. You can appreciate the color. You can appreciate the smell. And you can appreciate the taste, as I can see you are. Pork and cab is always gonna go really well together. Tannins help to cut through some of the greasiness of what's accumulating on the bottom right here.
That's the flavor. Because this is like Puerto Rico in a rolled up tortilla.
For real.
To introduce the flavors, his flavors, mine too. My mom was Puerto Rican, to a new Southern audience. Put in a burrito.
Time is a strange thing. In our best moments, it flies by. In our most difficult ones, it slows to a crawl. When enough time passes by, we can suddenly read the latest chapter of our lives clear as day. Chef Chaz and Jesse know how they got here, and I'm starting to realize the same for myself. Why is wine aged? Why is wine aged? It's B. Aging adds flavor. I'm out in the country, right outside Savannah. Jesse's taking me to meet Chef Nick Mueller, who along with his wife is running an invitation-only restaurant, event space, and bed and breakfast called Mulberry Hall.
This is definitely a piece of beauty right here, man.
Thank you.
Like,
I'll show you, give you the tour visually.
I've never tasted mulberries. Like, what should I expect?
They're kind of like a blackberry, but a little sweeter, not quite as tart, and they're very robust.
Good one right here.
Yep, here we go.
So I can eat mine right now.
Absolutely, enjoy. Don't touch your shirt.
No, I'm not.
Chef Mueller's bringing back 18th century German recipes that have been passed down throughout Savannah for generations.
Salt rising dough is kind of a lost or dying tradition in the area. You're creating a bread yeast culture that has an affinity for salt, whereas most yeasts are killed by salt addition at the wrong time in your dough. This culture, you start with some potatoes and sugar and cornmeal and flour and hot water, and then it ferments over several days. It smells terrible, but it gives a unique flavor in the bread, and the end result is kind of a combination between a brioche and a sourdough. All right, in, you want to pull it out?
Sure, let's get it.
Just give it a good jerk. There you go. You have done this before. Just like an NYC pizza.
I've seen it done many times.
For this special meal, I brought the Prisoner Cabernet Sauvignon.
Hey guys, right on time. This is your loaf paired with some butter and some mulberry and Prisoner Cabernet jam.
We got the butter.
Hot out of the oven, enjoy. Be right back with some entrees.
Thank you,
Oh,
sir.
my goodness. That bread smells so
Doesn't
good.
it? Doesn't
Yeah,
it?
that's
Yeah.
you can smell the fact that it has like that little
Salt,
salt.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
this is good.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, here. Look at the color of those mulberries. Look at the color of this wine.
It's almost
Right?
the same.
You can, you know.
Cheers.
Cheers, man. Smells great. You taste that freshness?
I do. Wait till you taste that bread you made. So good, so different. I've never had mulberry before.
So beautiful, I almost don't even want to eat it. I'm a messy eater. You gotta pardon me. Damn. The mulberries are a lot sweeter than I expected.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. And I agree with him completely. What he said. It's kind of like a brioche.
Yeah.
With a finer chew, but it has a little bit of the tanginess of that sourdough that he was talking about.
Yeah.
I've never had this kind of bread before. It's good.
Today we're cooking a Hudson Valley duck breast. We brined it for about 30 hours, and we cold smoked it for about an hour over hickory and cherry and a little bit of oak. Collards have Edwards Soriano ham, have Georgia-grown grits cooked with buttermilk. We made a reduction with duck stock, the mulberries, and some Prisoner Cabernet. And then there's some pickled purple onions and pickled green beans tying into the German-Austrian pickling tradition of preserving, which they would have done here on the farm very authentically.
Oh my God.
So this is our magret duck breast. Enjoy, guys.
Thank you.
Very welcome.
He forgot to mention one thing. Beautifully plated.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
I feel like I'm in the South, but it's a whole different elevation to it. I've never had duck like this. I like duck. I've never had duck like this. Nah, and the grits are really, really light. And lots of acidity coming through as well. The mulberries come through. And then also with the duck, there's like a slight hint of sweetness that's coming across.
This is fabulous.
This goes so great with these fresh fruit notes that you're getting in the wine. This Cabernet Sauvignon is given black cherry, ripe plum layered with vanilla baking spice, concentrated dark fruit, culminating in a lush, full mouth-filled, lengthy finish.
So you brought the wine to the table. Well, how do you think it works?
I think this works really, really well. One thing I did not think about is the grassy notes that are in this wine going so well with the collards here.
Yeah.
You know, because that's a whole different element.
It
You
is.
don't drink wine with collard greens.
No, no, you
know what I'm
don't.
saying? But you can now. I mean, this guy deserves a Michelin star. I mean, damn.
He could probably have one if he really wanted to.
For real, for real. Yo, man, thank you, man. This is major.
My pleasure.
Much
Hope you enjoy it.
appreciated. Oh.
Savannah is having a moment right now. Talented chefs are coming through from all over the world to learn its ancient recipes, celebrate time-honored traditions, bring in new ideas, and evolve the old ones. These local chefs I'm meeting here is inspiring me to reach into my own past and read my own story. I keep getting reminded of what Jesse told me sitting at the oldest freestanding structure in Georgia. How can you know where you're going if you don't know where you're coming from?